So today we'll be getting into a handful of stories involving Becky Lynch, Dominik, Brie Bella, and more. Let's start things off with Dominik Mysterio. Dominik Mysterio is obviously the latest wrestler to come from the legendary wrestling family of the Mysterios. One thing has always been related with the Mysterios is the wrestling mask. It's historic tradition for the family to wear these unique wrestling masks to the ring, and even compete with them as well. If you're in this family and you're gonna wrestle, it's obviously expected for you to wear a mask and continue that family legacy. Obviously, things were a bit unorthodox for Dominik Mysterio. His face has been revealed to the WWE audience since he was young, and even revealed some more around in 2019 when he started to appear alongside his father Rey Mysterio to the ring. Dominik Mysterio would officially explode onto the WWE scene in mid-2020 during the pandemic performance center era for WWE. After his father was brutally taken out by Seth Rollins, Dominik arrived on the scene to avenge Rey, but he made his official debut with no mask yet again. Then we get to SummerSlam, his first match. Some fans assume that could have been a good spot for a mask debut, but nothing there once again. Dominik recently spoke with Kevin Callum of Sportskeeda and got into more detail about what happened with the mask situation. It was thought about, it was talked about. When I would go and train, I would train with a mask on, just so I would know the feeling, how to get used to it, moving it around, things like that, breathing. So yeah, I would train with the mask on, because I wanted to debut with the mask on. I wanted to debut traditionally as a Mysterio with a mask. But everything happened so fast, and all these opportunities started presenting themselves. My face was already on TV, so there's no point in putting a mask on, unless, at this point, it's a passing of the torch for my dad. I think that's the only way we could do it. At this point, that would work. So that's what Dominik had to say, and he made a good point there. The mask still isn't out of the question. There's a handful of ways to still write Dominik Mysterio into a mask. The first way is the most obvious way that he talked about, and that's the situation of Rey Mysterio finally hanging up his boots and having this moment of unmasking himself and placing the mask in Dominik's hands. With the mask no longer in Rey's possession, it would be a sign of his retirement and a passing of the torch moment to Dominik. So even though we've seen his face for a while now, it's still the perfect reason for him to wear the mask. He wants to honor his father and his family's legacy. That seems to be the good ending for how Dominik could end up with a mask, but apparently there's a more darker way as well. We're continuing to see this weird tension between Rey and Dom. They're both accidentally costing each other big matches, and it just feels like we're building up to some big explosive payoff here. Reports claim that Dominik turning heel on Rey and establishing a new masked heel persona is one of the most talked about possibilities. So that's another way of getting Dominik a mask as well. Just have him fully turn heel on Rey and have him get a new mask. So in his mind, he's moving away from being Dominik Mysterio, and this mask would give him an opportunity to give himself a new identity. So there's basically two options to go with there. Rey passes it down, which would be a good ending, or Dominik beats Rey down and gets a mask himself, which would be a more darker ending. We'll see how it plays out, but expect Dominik to get a mask sometime in the future. On top of her already iconic submission finisher, the Disarm Her, Becky returned at SummerSlam with a new weapon in her arsenal, and that was a variation of the Rock Bottom. It's the move that she used on Bianca Belair at SummerSlam to beat her in 26 seconds. Even though the move is slightly different, it still shares a lot of close similarities with The Rock's Rock Bottom finisher. So much so that Becky Lynch revealed that she wanted to call up The Rock and ask him for permission before performing the move. Becky Lynch had this to say while appearing on the Out of Character podcast. So I used a variation of the Rock Bottom before, but it's just easier to get it and go. I asked The Rock if I could use it, and he was very gracious and said that I could. Called him, and I told him how SummerSlam is gonna go down, and said, look, here's what I'm thinking. I'm supposed to hit one move on her. Can I use this? Yeah. So The Rock did give his blessing to Becky to use her Rock Bottom variation, and that's why she's been using it ever since. It was a great addition to Becky's moveset. She has that great finisher submission hold that helped her win her biggest matches, but she never really had that straight-up impactful finishing move, and that's what this move could serve as. The move is technically not new to Becky Lynch at all. She's been using this move for a handful of years now, and has always called it the Manhandle Slam. But it appears that the difference with this move now is that it will be looked at as a big finishing move going forward, especially since it did the job of defeating Bianca Belair in 26 seconds. That really makes the move seem dangerous, so it appears that it will be taken more serious than it was a few years ago. Becky Lynch is getting ready to defend her SmackDown Women's title soon at Crown Jewel against Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. What makes this match a bit weird is that Becky and Bianca are now Raw superstars. So unless WWE has a plan to swap the titles like they did last year, it's hard to picture Becky or Bianca holding the title on Raw. Sasha is technically the only SmackDown superstar in this match. She's the only one that can bring it to SmackDown. You have the issue with the Raw title being on SmackDown with Charlotte. That will be addressed as well. But the whole brand switch situation does make the triple threat match seem more exciting and unpredictable. Maybe Sasha does take it, or maybe Becky retains and does swap titles with Charlotte here real soon. WWE Hall of Fame member Brie Bella is not holding back on her thoughts on the current women's division at all. Brie recently appeared on the Sippin' the Tea podcast and didn't hold back at all when discussing the women's division and their usage. She had this to say: "It's weird because I feel like lately you've seen a little bit of a drop. Now that Becky is back, there's going to be some momentum and stories, but there for a while, I thought the girls were getting so much, and then all of a sudden, it went back to so little." You would watch either Raw or SmackDown, and the stories just didn't feel like they were getting as much depth as they should have, and not as much time. Look at the tag division. I'm just like, wait. We went from having so many tag teams to now it just doesn't feel like a lot. There's so many great things that WWE is great at, but that, for some reason, misses the boat with me. Brie obviously nailed it with everything she had to say there. Starting with the tag team division, we talked about this a few days ago. You just look at the product, the constant breakup of tag teams, and that depleted division, and you really can't help but to feel like there's not a single care in the world for that tag team division. Tag teams are thrown together out of nowhere, and they're split up out of nowhere, basically making it impossible to get invested in any tag team in the women's tag team division. Same thing even applies for the women's singles division. Outside of your Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair storylines, there's nothing else going on in the women's division. Storylines outside of the women's title picture feel so empty, and nowhere near the depth of non-title feuds in the men's division. Look at Seth vs. Edge. No title involved, but that story is so rich. A deep non-title feud like that in the women's division is impossible to find. Like some fans noticed, Roman Reigns' entrance from this week's SmackDown was even longer than both women's matches for the Queen's Crown tournament. So this is a big issue here for sure. There's still no non-title feuds or any depth at all to the women's tag team division. So hopefully things are able to turn around here real soon. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.